Hi, my name is Per. I am the inventor of a board game called Scryper. Before talking about this game, I'd like to talk about two other games that we all know, chess and backgammon. Let's say that I want to hang out with my friends. We want to go to a cafe and a fun way of staying in a cafe and spend some time is to play a board game. So I would go up to the counter in the cafe and ask if they have any board games, and most likely they would say yes. Also, what is very likely is that what they would give me as a board game would be backgammon and not chess. And the reason they would give me backgammon is because, of course, it's a well-known, very loved board game that's easy to play. So it fits well in an environment like a cafe where people go around and you can still sit and play, talking to your friends and hanging out and having fun. That's not really possible the same way with chess, because chess demands much more of your focus and your attention. So it's not a good fit for a cafe environment. And that's actually, if you look into it like that, each of those games have something that works for them and something that works against them, if you can say. And the best thing, or the most obvious thing that works for chess, if you start there, is that it's very strategic and it's very tactical in the way you implement it. So you would always, as a chess player, analyze what are your best moves now and what do you anticipate would happen 2 or 3 moves from here, and how can you best position yourself towards that. So very analytical in the way you play it, and it means, of course, that you have to dedicate your complete focus to this, and that's what makes it really exciting to play. But it also means that there is a boundary for when you're going to play it. It requires so much of your focus that maybe a lot of people are turned off that factor actually. It's a bit the opposite with backgammon. Backgammon is very easy and very fun to play, simple rules. It's the oldest still board game in the world, probably 8,000 years old. So of course there's a reason why people always have found it fun to play, and it is because it's simple to play, like the cafe example before. But backgammon also has the drawbacks, because it misses the strategic dimension that chess has, and also it's very luck dependent, and many of the moves are very mechanical, meaning that it's sort of given on forehand what you should do when you see the dices. So you don't really make that many decisions in backgammon, but it's still a fun game to play. So that's sort of those two scenarios was going around in my head, and I thought, is it possible to take not in a one-by-one element, but take what's good about chess and take what's good about backgammon and sort of merge that into one new game that would be really fun to play, had a strategic dimension, and also very social that you can play with your friends. And that's what Scryper is. And actually the inspiration didn't come from those two games for the gameplay. The inspiration came from somewhere else, and that is tennis. We all know tennis, and the way the rules of tennis has been built up is that you have those sets. You play either to best out of 5 or best out of 3 sets, meaning they have to win 2 or 3 sets to win. If you apply the same dynamics into a board game, then you have a new dimension that is actually pretty fun, because it would mean that you would have to decide on a resource level, how many resources should you put into this set. What do you think your opponent would do? Should you try to bluff him? What should we do? So there is this dimension which is new, and the reason that it is a resource decision element is because in Scryper you would get 16 bricks, and those bricks have different features and values, and you as a player can only use one brick one time in one set. So out of the potential 5 sets you're going to play, you have to decide how to distribute the 16 bricks that you have the best way possible. So it means that you have to decide for each set you play how many bricks or resources do you want to deploy here, which one should they be, what do you think your opponent would do, and then act accordingly. And the same way as in tennis, where every tennis board that is played is actually important, even though that the tennis game can last maybe 2 or 3 hours. then the same dynamic actually applies when you play a set in Scryper. Because even though that your opponent might have put in more resources, better bricks than you have, you still have the ability to win a set, because you can bluff and outsmart him and take some risks that he might not be willing to take, and that could mean that you could actually win a set that he was sort of supposed to win with the resources that he had. And that means that every set is important, of course, but also every move in every set has the potential to switch the direction of who's actually going to win this game. And this means that the Scryper game is very intense and very focused the way you play it, because everything is important, and you have the tactical level where you move the bricks, and the strategic level where you decide which resources to put into a set. And that means that when you're done playing a game, you would look back and saying that this is actually me and my choices and the way that I implemented that determines whether or not I was winning, not as in backgammon where it might be written off as the other guys being lucky, or in chess where it's always the smartest person who wins. It's not like that in Scryper. These are the actions that you take, and how you apply them that determines how you wins. So it's much more up to yourself, and that's why it's very fun to play.